Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Dave Gates, and this is a Solo Musician Podcast, episode number 8. All right, hello. How's everybody doing? Welcome back. Hopefully you had a great weekend. There was lots of live music happening in our area here in central Pennsylvania over the weekend. We had Gettysburg Rocks Festival going on. That is incredible. I didn't get to do it this year, unfortunately. It's a great festival that Rob puts together, Rob Simon, and benefits pediatric cancer. It's a pediatric cancer research fund, the Four Diamonds there. And, all the money gets donated, and I saw a bunch of my friends were playing, and it's very cool event. So if you got out to see any of that, I'd love to hear about it. So this week's episode is going to be all about how to take care of your voice whenever you're doing multiple shows in a row. There's a million things online, and if you don't want to hear me talk about it, there's people way more qualified than I am to talk about it. But if you'd like to hear how I made it through, 3-hour shows and 1 4-hour show this weekend in a row, didn't even take any breaks at the 4-hour show, which is completely against what I should have been doing, but made it through. If you'd like to hear how that's possible, you just continue listening. This weekend I implemented a few things that I had learned through research online and some people that I was checking out, because I was like, you know what? Who performs a lot? Who has to use their voice a lot, right? So a lot of these theater people, cruise ship acts, they're performing every day or multiple times a day. And so I just kind of checked out what do they do for their vocal care. And then I put it into practice. I've been using hot tea and those types of things through the years to kind of help with my voice, but never really noticed a gigantic difference until this past weekend, whenever I put all of these things into effect at one time. And I found myself at that last show on Sunday not feeling fatigued, having full vocal range, having good projection, having good form and everything else, right? So something clicked, and I think it was the conglomerate of all the things, right? So to start out with, I made sure to get 8 hours of sleep. Like, no matter what, at least 8 hours of sleep every night. That meant sometimes getting home from shows and going right to bed, right? Because the dogs get up in the morning before I do. And when they get up, you don't have the choice to stay in bed. I'm sure there's people out there with kids that have, the same thing. I just have dogs at the house and my girlfriend, and, the dogs get up, and when they get up, everybody's up. So I made sure I got to bed early enough to get 8 hours of sleep. Okay. That's number one. Very, very simple thing to do. And I've always heard about how, sleep repairs and sleep's important and blah, 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 blah. But that was a base for me to start from, is just a good, solid set of sleep, right? All right. Number 2, when I got up in the morning, I reduced the amount of caffeine that I would normally take in. Okay. So I took I hear that caffeine can really dry out your vocal cords, and it can, it's a diuretic. So it makes you kind of shed water throughout the day as well. So, and I don't know how substantial that is. I'm not a freaking scientist, so I have no idea how substantial that is. I just know that I reduced the amount of coffee I usually drink on those 4 days. That seemed to help. It definitely seemed like my warm-ups were easier than they normally would be if I was consuming the normal amount of caffeine that I do throughout the day, between tea, like brewed tea, not tea cooler or anything like that. But between tea and coffee, I usually drink a little bit of caffeine each day, keep my pep in my step. So reduced a little bit of that. That seemed to really, really, really help as well. The third thing that I did was I did drink the hot teas that I normally do. Now, these are caffeine-free teas. They're all herbal, throat coat teas. And whenever I was looking at the back of the Yogi, which is the brand that I usually drink, I was looking at the back of their tea bag box, and on it said consume 4 to 6 cups of tea a day to help with singing or speaking. And I was like, well, I always drink, like I put 2 tea bags in each cup of tea that I drink. So I count that as 2 cups of tea, basically. But what I did was I increased that. So I did 2 tea bags and I drank 4 cups of tea throughout the day. Usually it was like 1 in the morning, probably 1 in the afternoon, 1 before I left for the show, and then 1 when I got home. So that was my 4 cups of tea. Drank those every day. A little bit of honey in each of those. Honey really helps to lubricate things. Don't use too much honey because the sugar will dry out your vocal cords. Once again, not a scientist, so Google it if you're really interested in whether or not it's actually real. All right, so I drank the tea. So 4 cups of tea, got my sleep, reduced my caffeine. All right, so there's the first 3 things. Number 4 actually came from a recommendation from my friend Matt Jameson, which is another local guy that plays acoustic music kind of all over the place. And Matt gigs all the time. He's like 5 to 6 gigs a week, every week, which is bonkers. And one of the things that he has is a vocal mister. It's not the actual name of it. It's a nebulizer. But it's called Vocal Mist, right? And it's kind of specifically made for singers and speakers, and it's made portable, so that way there you can kind of strap it to your face and walk around the house with it on, right? And do laundry or whatever you got to do. You don't have to just sit there simply waiting for your nebulizing treatment to be done, right? So I did a nebulizer treatment in the morning, and then I did one at night. So I would do one in the morning whenever I got up, and I know that they say for the most effect, you should do it right before the show or whatever. I don't really want to sit in the parking lot and do it. So I did it at the house in the morning, and then I did it at night whenever I got home from the gigs or back to the hotel or wherever. So that was one of the bigger things, was that nebulizer's brand new for me. And I've been using it now for about 2 weeks. I started to kind of notice a little bit of a difference, but I really, really did feel some relief from it this weekend, especially after the shows. When I would come home, sometimes my throat would be a little sore. Nothing crazy, not like normal, but it was definitely a little sore. And then I would do the nebulizer treatment, and then I would feel, literally my throat would feel better. So that nebulizer is, it's a little bit of an investment. I think they make like knockoff brand ones on Amazon. You can get one of those and take in that Chinese saline fluid or whatever you want to do. But if you want to try Vocal Mist, check that out. I highly recommend it. It's very easy. I've been using it, twice a day, and it seems to be really helping. So along those lines as well, I did end up purchasing some throat coat lozenges. So this is made by the same brand. So it's Traditional Medicines, which is the makers of the actual throat coat tea. And Traditional Medicine, they make this awesome like lemon echinacea tea. Yeah, that really gets the ladies. So this lemon echinacea tea that helps your throat feel, it's like changing the oil in your throat. Is what it feels like. When I drink it, it feels good as I'm drinking it. So I ended up getting these throat coat lozenges. So they're just like cough drops, basically, without any kind of menthol or anything in them. And I have those for like, in between. So I would take those kind of like 1 in the morning, maybe 1 before the show. Just a little bit of extra lube for my throat. And that seemed to work really, really well as well. So besides sleep, pretty much everything I've covered so far has been something outside of me. So something that I like, tea or the nebulizer, it's these certain things that they're external factors. Let's put it that way. So as far as internal factors, this week I did make sure to do a full warm up and a full cool down before and after every single show. And I know we should be doing it every single time. I get it. I know that, and you know it too, if you're a singer. You should be doing it before and after every single show. You should be doing some sort of warm up. But this weekend I made it a point to make sure I was doing that. And full 10 to 20 minute warm up, usually scales and runs and arpeggios and all the classics, all the hits, right? Lip trills and all that stuff. So I got all of that done before the shows, and then after the shows I would just do slides. So like, sliding from a higher note to a lower note, and then, basic lip trills, very low pressure lip trills, some low humming at my higher ranges down to the bottom. And then it seemed like that really helped as well. But probably the biggest realization I had this weekend was that I was singing with improper form. And I've been noticing that my throat's been getting fatigued very, very easily. Very quickly, my voice has kind of just been breathy and not full at a lot of my shows, probably for about a month or so now. And I just attributed it to, too many shows, maybe a little bit too much drinking at the shows or whatever, too much partying on the weekends, right? So that's what I thought it was, and I noticed whenever I was at my show on Thursday at Tony Loco's that I was singing from my chest. I was not using my diaphragm whatsoever. And I know from previous experience how detrimental that can be. I mean, that can ruin your voice. If you're not projecting from your diaphragm, if you're not using your diaphragm to sing, and you're just all relying on that top end of your body, it's only a matter of time. It's only a matter of time before your voice is not going to work the way you want it to. You're going to lose range. You're going to lose, projection. You're going to lose a large amount of your vocal ability if you're singing from your chest. So I realized that at my show on Thursday, and then I literally focused on making sure I was singing from my diaphragm for the rest of the weekend. And it seemed like it was like a light bulb going off. It was like, I don't know how I missed that I was doing that all that time. And then just, oh, that's what it is? Oh, okay. And then I made the adjustments. So I definitely think part of being able to have that stamina to do, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1,200 shows in a row or whatever is, proper form. And I think that if you're struggling to be able to do multiple shows in a row, maybe make sure that your form is good. Check with yourself, kind of be like, oh, where am I singing from right now? Do I feel my belly pushing on my guitar or my keyboard or my saxophone or my harpsichord or my djembe? Does that is that happening? And if it's not, maybe make those small adjustments. And it seems like it worked for me. I don't know. It might not work for you, but it's worth a shot, especially if you're struggling, if you're losing range. The final thing I ended up doing was making sure that I was taking breaks. And if you've been to my shows, you know that I don't normally take breaks. I'll do a 3-hour show or a 4-hour show, and I don't like to take any kind of breaks in the middle because I don't want anybody to leave. So I try to play through all of them. But this week, I was like, you know what? I'll take a break at each show. Just one break, about 15 to 20 minutes or so, kind of 2 hours in or an hour and 40 minutes in, and I'll break for 20 minutes and then play the last hour. And I did that for the Thursday, Friday, and Saturday shows. And during that break, I just kind of like avoided people, right? Just kind of not in a mean way. I just went and found something to do. I went to the bathroom. I got a water. All I drank was water at the Sunday show, which is probably why I was able to do 4 hours. And I just stuck to like really light beers at the other shows with my unprofessional ass, drinking some beer while I was working. But that's what I did at the other shows. So I think that really seemed to help. I noticed if I drink like IPAs or higher alcohol beers or anything other than beer when I'm playing, it's a recipe for my voice to just stop working. I'll lose range and I'll lose projection. I lose all of those things. So, maybe that might be another tip for vocal care as well is, be careful with the alcohol. So that's going to wrap up this week's episode. And, I know it was a super short one. I didn't have a whole bunch of time this week, unfortunately, but, next week will be a little bit more involved. And then episode number 10, I'm going to start interviewing some people. So if you would like to be interviewed, if you're interested in interview, if you want to come hang out with me and us have a conversation about music, let's do that. All right. You can shoot me a message, solomusicianpodcast@gmail.com. You can shoot me a Facebook message. You could text me. I don't care how you get a hold of me, but if you want to sit down and have a talk about music, I'm all into it. All right. So let's make that happen. Episode 10 is going to be with my good friend Kevin Nelson. Kevin Nelson was my producer on my first album that I put out. He's the guy that has recorded pretty much anything that's ever been published by me. And he's a local music booker. He's a radio personality. So I'm going to get to sit down with Kevin and we're going to talk about some stuff. We might ruffle a few feathers. Kevin's a bit of a loose cannon, just like myself, and I love it. It's going to be a great conversation. So we're just gonna sit down and have a talk. So that's going to be the first guest at episode number 10. And like I said, if you're interested in being on, I don't even want to call it being on. If you're interested in hanging out and talking, and me recording it and then putting it on here, then shoot me a message and let's do that. All right. These solo episodes have been fun, but I don't want this to come across as me dictating or telling you how everything should go, because I don't know everything. I'm fairly new in this music thing, and I'm not an awesome guitar player. I'm not a incredible singer. Like I don't have all of those ingredients, but I do know some people that I look up to that are awesome guitarists and awesome performers and awesome singers, and I'd like to talk to them and get their input. So maybe they can share something with you or with me that helps us as a community, because that's the whole point of the podcast. So, all right, I'm going to let it there. I will see you guys on Thursday for the Thursday Thoughts episode. Oh, before Thursday, I do have a show coming up. Glenwood, Maryland. I'll be there Wednesday night, 6 to 9 p.m. That's at Walker's Tap and Table. So hopefully I'll see you out there if you're in the area. And then if not, I will talk to you on Thursday for the Thursday Thoughts episode right back here. I hope you guys have a good day. All right.